where are the good, strong men in any of these movies and in Ghostbusters? The ladies are awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
Like,
Ernie
except
was
for
great.
one.
Wait, which one?
What?
What? Huh?
Oh, you want to get into this?
Oh, no. What are you talking about?
So,
I don't know what I just stepped in.
oh. Welcome to another episode of Is This for Kids? I am your host, Jonathan Beard Blevins.
I am your host, Katie, Mrs. Ruby.
I was hoping you would say your co-host.
Do you remember you did that whole thing where you're like, we're not host and co-host, and then
We're just hosts together.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted you to actually say host.
Did you?
I did.
Well, then I didn't let you down.
I was also trying to see if I could get under your skin. It didn't work. Today we're talking about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Dun, dun, dun.
The ghostess with the mostest.
But first, I have a question for you.
Okay.
As I was watching the movie, there's a character, forget the name, because I don't even think they said the name unless they said it one time.
Okay.
And it reminded me of the character in the Ecto Cooler High C thing. The big green... Slimer, that's his name?
Yeah, Slimer. Yeah.
So when I was drinking Ecto Cooler High C back when I was a kid, that was a
Slimer's
Ghostbusters collab.
Crew. Yeah.
On purpose?
Yes, absolutely.
You're a little older than me. Did you know that growing up?
I did, actually. And my brother and I used to really, really like this one flavor of Kool-Aid that was in a green thing, but it wasn't Ecto Cooler, but we called it Ecto Cooler anyway. Somebody who's good at Kool-Aid, go back and tell me what was it called. But my brother and I were real into Ecto Cooler.
Well, this I learned
today
while watching.
You didn't know about Slimer?
Last night. Well, no, I didn't realize. No, I mean, I thought I remembered him a little bit, but then I saw him in the movie. And in the movie Frozen Empire, he didn't seem like how I remembered him when I was a kid. And then when I was a kid, like I just remember drinking that High C and actually not liking it that much.
Yeah.
And forgetting that it had anything to do with Ghostbusters.
So the Kool-Aid that we liked was not Ecto Cooler, but we called it that. I don't remember what it was. Green. I think it was like a starfruit. Strawberry starfruit is what's sticking in my head. I don't know why.
Okay.
But anyway,
tell us in the comments so we can resurrect it and bring it back.
Please.
I'm
But
excited.
did you watch the cartoon or did you watch the movies?
I watched the cartoon and then I watched what the first movie was like the late 80s, right? Mm-hmm. Or was it early 90s?
82.
82, so early 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that eventually.
Yeah.
And then I saw this one. Would you go ahead and describe the movie for those who have not seen it yet? Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Yeah, so Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is a sequel to the 2014 Ghostbusters Afterlife. And it tells the story of Callie, who is the sort of out of nowhere child of Egon Spangler from the original Ghostbusters series. She had been living in Oklahoma with her two kids, Trevor and Phoebe. And then in the old movie, or the movie from 2014, they had met a guy who led a summer camp kind of. He was a science teacher named Gary Gooberson. Now they've all come back together from Oklahoma to the original firehouse from the Ghostbusters. They've inherited it and they've taken on the mantle of being Ghostbusters themselves. Phoebe runs into some problems for being underage, so they kind of have to bench her a little bit. And then in the meantime, Ray Stantz from the original Ghostbusters team has started this sort of a shop for creepy things, like an antique store for haunted items, and he does like a YouTube thing that's think like if Antiques Roadshow was just about hauntings, that's what it would be. So this dude brings in this metal orb to the shop to have Ray look at it, and it's clearly haunted, and it turns out that it houses this ice god from ages past, and it had been being held captive inside this bronze orb by a fire master? Who was the idiot guy who dropped it off's grandmother, was keeping it there, and they accidentally let it out, and it wreaks havoc on all of New York City, and the Ghostbusters must put it back.
Great job. You deserve an award for that description.
Is there an Academy Award for just general like summaries?
No, but
Academy
there
Award
should
for
be.
Summaries.
You're like the Chat GPT of summarizing movies and shows. I know the microphones are doing crazy things.
They're doing something
I love it.
Crazy today.
So what did you think about the movie? I thought it was fine overall.
Yeah.
This is not a movie review podcast.
It's not.
But we do talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, the goal is to like give parents, an idea how they could talk through this with their kids, what their kids would get involved, maybe some parenting topics that come up from there. So I thought that I took my two sons, basically.
Okay, how old?
My sons are 14 and 9. My daughters had no interest in this movie whatsoever.
Interesting.
The boys thought it would be kind of fun. I got extra points on my movie reward system because it was a scary movie in November or March or whatever month that was that I needed to do it. So, go me.
That's cool.
Anywho, it was fine. Like,
that's what I wrote. It was fine.
it was fine.
It was fine overall.
Yeah. There was, a couple of weird things that stood out to me that I was like, don't love that, but what did you think?
I mean, I thought it was fine. It was interesting. It took a long time to get to the point of the movie, I feel like.
Oh, yeah, it dragged.
Yeah, it just dragged a little bit. Part of hanging around like the fire station was kind of cool to me. Like I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it was kind of slow. The characters were not super interesting. I love the throwbacks with all the old former Ghostbusters. That was super
Jeanette
fun.
Was really cool. Or Janine.
Yeah.
Janine. I don't know her name.
As far as whether or not it's for kids, I mean, there was some suggestive language. There was some.
Yeah, there was
some sex jokes.
One in particular that I was like, oh, come on, man. So there's this part where they go to the former fire master's house to find where that orb had come from. And the entire room is covered in bronze because they have this whole bronze contains demons concept going on or whatever. And while they're in there, they walk in and the children say, oh, it's a sex dungeon. And they're like, oh, no, don't say sex dungeon. Where there's chains. Why would you have chains in a sex dungeon? And they're like, And
he's like, no.
Oh. And so I'm sitting here with my 9-year-old right next to me, and he's like, Mom.
Did he comment on it?
He looked at me. He's like, that's not for kids. Because my kids are now like, they do that all the time. Mom, is it for kids? So, yeah. Afterwards, my son was like, so Mom, what's a sex dungeon? Like, what is that even? And I was like, oh, come on. Like, I don't want to have this conversation because it was so out of place. It wasn't necessary
out of
in the
pocket,
scene.
out of place.
It didn't make sense. Like, I guess you want to throw in some sort of edgy joke, maybe. I don't know. I just felt like it wasn't necessary. There was not like a sexy vibe to anything in this movie. Nope. Like, even the two people who appeared to be in a relationship with each other, Callie and Gary, didn't seem to have a sexual attraction to one another. So it was just really weird to throw in this weird sex comment.
Did you know? Okay, so we're gonna sound like we're nitpicking here, and we are a little bit. But like, there's another. Did you hear what I'm pretty sure they described the main ice demon as tall, dark, and horny because he has 2 horns. Did you catch that one?
Oh no, I just thought it was referring to the horns. Now that you say it that way,
yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
And so I'm with you. You're just like, what's the point? Of this movie? They seem to go above and beyond to not make it insanely scary. Like for a movie that's about ghosts, you would think that it would be a little bit more frightening. There's like one ghost throughout the movie that just a couple of times pops up, and it's like just the face, and it's kind of horrifying.
Jump scare.
And other than that one ghost, like the rest of it is not too scary in my opinion for what a ghost movie would be. But then you just throw these out
proud of you because I thought you were going to be terrified.
Thank you. I was alone in the theater. Also, side note, saw some family just get up and leave in the middle. They had nachos, drinks, popcorn.
They were over
and their oldest was maybe, I think it was just a mom and dad and like a 12-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they just snuck in from another movie and then left, or like they just
maybe
left?
They're waiting for their movie to start?
What an expensive journey to leave a movie that wasn't that scary, and it wasn't during any offensive part. But I digress.
Yeah.
But so why throw those adult humor when they're not even that funny of jokes? Like if you could be so much more creative if you want to throw in those kind of jokes in a PG-13 movie. Yeah,
because you're not going into this movie looking for a scary movie. Nobody's going to this because they're a horror fan. You're going to it for a family movie. Like these are the whole reboot of Ghostbusters has kids in it. Like the Afterlife one where they were all kids in a high school environment. And they made a whole thing about her being underage in this movie. So it just feels so out of place to have that there. One of the things that I thought was really interesting in the movie, and that I saw a lot of people talking about, both about Afterlife and online commenting about this one, about Frozen Empire, is like the weird place of dads and like male role models in this situation. Because Egon Spengler, that movie comes out in 1982, right? Or 80. And she's said to have been born, or no, I'm sorry, it came out in 84. She's said to have been born in 82. So she would have been alive at the time of the first Ghostbusters movie. But obviously Egon didn't have a wife, a girlfriend, or a child when they made that movie. Like that wasn't part of it. So like there's this whole weird, where the heck did this girl go? Why does she have this like tumultuous relationship with Egon, but then she seems to get over it and goes back to being a Spangler and being proud of it. And then you've got Gary Gooberson, who the kids are like, first of all, you never find out what happened to the kids' dad. Like, are they divorced? Is he dead? Nobody knows. But
real quick, did you watch the first one? The first Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Wait, do you mean the Afterlife, or do you mean
the one with all these same characters?
The answer's the same either way. Yes,
great.
I've watched both of them.
Great
I don't know
job.
why I just clarified that, but yes, I did watch the Afterlife. I watched the 82 version or 84 version.
Yep.
And I didn't rewatch Ghostbusters 2, but I have seen it at some point in my life. Anyway, so it's just really odd. Like, the kids are really quickly glom on to Gary. By the end, they're calling him dad, and he's so proud to be their dad. So there's just very strange, like, there's a lot of talk during the movie about what is Gary's role in parenting the kids.
Yep.
Yeah, I figured since you're very into the masculine representation in film, you would have something to say.
Yeah. Well, first, to that point where there's a point in the movie where the mom looks at him and she's like, you can help a little here. And he's like, I didn't want to intrude. Like, can I?
Yeah.
Yes. And that's it. That is not how that conversation is going to happen in any life or relationship, right? That's like a multiple month-long conversation of how would you like to start helping raise my kids, right?
Yes.
So anyway, that was weird that it was like a 2-sentence thing. I promise I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here. I know people who listen to the podcast are probably like, John, you're always saying this, but it stands out to me often in a lot of content that we're watching, and especially in this movie, that all the male characters are just really dumb, and there's not one of them that has like a redeemable quality in this entire film. It doesn't make any sense to me. And then there's Paul Rudd, who like is a good guy, but he's just Paul Rudd in every single movie that he's in, and he's talking and he's chill and he's funny and he's trying to be like a good guy, and he's like, okay, yeah, I'll own this, like being a dad. And then he looks at her at one point and he's just like, that was not okay.
Yeah. Well, he's never been a dad, to be fair.
Right, but like that's your I'm gonna start taking it seriously.
Sure.
It's just weird. And then there's no commitment either there with him at the end. He just like takes their last name. I think at the end he says something like, you
don't want to be a Gooberson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just weird. There's no commitment. He doesn't commit, but then he's like, I'll be a father figure. I don't love it. I don't love how guys are portrayed in the film overall. And even the fire master, just like being just like goofy. I mean, he was funny. And that actor is just absolutely hilarious. But like, where are the good, strong men in any of these movies and in Ghostbusters? The ladies are awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
like,
Ernie
except
was
for
great.
one.
Wait, which one?
What?
What? Huh?
Oh, you want to get into this?
Oh, no. What are you talking about?
So,
I don't know what I just stepped in.
I mean, okay. So Phoebe.
Uh-huh.
Phoebe makes a massive mistake and brings back a demon god that could end the world and kills multiple characters. We don't even know how many, but at least 2 or 3.
Yeah.
That turn into ice and fall apart and die.
Right.
Because she fell in spiritual love with a ghost. Maybe not, became friends with the ghost.
Yeah.
And like wanted friendship so bad that she decided that she was going to betray the entire city of New York City. She makes this mistake, and as her parents are driving through New York City, sorry, spoiler alert, I guess. I mean, we should probably say spoiler alert.
I mean, if you're watching this, you're probably not all worried about it.
And they're like, well, shouldn't you have just like gotten a tattoo or something? Like when we said make a mistake, we didn't mean this, ha ha ha. Yeah. And she killed people, and there's no consequences for her actions. In the end of the movie, it's just over. I'm
not sure she knew that's what she was bringing when she brought her ghost girlfriend over. So
there's
that aspect of it, but I see what you're saying. I don't know. I'm not sure that it needed any kind of like parenting. It was a mistake. You want your kids to come to you when they
straight to jail.
Oh my goodness, she's a child. Like that was the whole reason why she got benched, was because she was a child and she was gonna make mistakes, and it's a good idea for her to not make mistakes on this level. So I think there's something like a conversation to be had there about like not giving kids adult level privileges when they're not ready for adult level responsibility. And I think that's a huge problem in the world right now.
That's a great point. We can talk about that too. Why don't they have... There's many characters in the film that should be having conversations with other characters about adult responsibility. Like the grandmother to the fire master.
Yeah, she's just decided not to let him know, apparently. And like, I don't know how to tell people this, but like if you're a grandparent, if you're a parent, it's your job to make sure your kid's not an idiot. So like, if your kid's an idiot and you don't want to pass down the family legacy to him, that's a little on you.
100%.
Yeah, sorry.
But this is my call. This is my call to, we just like, listen, I'm not a perfect man. I'm not a perfect dad. I'm not a perfect husband, but I try my best, and I try to be a leader. I try to make good decisions and raise my kids the best way that I know how.
Yeah.
And it just feels like all these I'm over the dumb dads and dumb male characters that are just like there for comic's sake in all of these new movies.
Yeah.
Where are the strong male characters?
I didn't think it was terrible, but there was like a huge lack of fatherhood thing that needed, or at least like a hunger for fatherhood that I felt like needed to be talked about and would be a good conversation to have with kids. But overall, this is a goofy, sort of scary comedy movie. So, don't take it that serious, not that deep. But age range, what would you think would be appropriate?
I agree. It isn't that deep, but
if you want to make it that deep, you can, because stories
will.
matter. Here's the thing. Stories matter.
Yeah.
So kids see these kinds of things and they're like, hey, this is what I think is normal. And we're going to talk about more things coming up in the future here where these stories create whole wormholes that people go down that really, just be prepared.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So for me, I'm saying, I say probably 12 and up is fine. I think if you're a parent who's okay introducing your kids to scary stuff, they've already seen some scary stuff, then it really isn't that bad. You can even go younger than that. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to say 12 and up, this movie is probably fine. Most of the jokes are going to go over little kids' heads as well.
Yeah. The only thing that's not going to go over somebody's head is the sex dungeon thing. It's very blatant.
It is.
It's there's no getting around it. You're not going to miss it. So I would say it's fine for kids who are 8 and up, but be prepared to handle a very strange car ride home BDSM talk.
Which she was not ready to have.
I made it happen, though. We talked about, we're like, hey, what's the appropriate, how do you treat people? What's a good way? Should that be happening? It was fine. We had a conversation. It was fine, but it's fine.
So I say 12, you say 8?
8 and up.
How are we so far apart? I'll tell you why. Mm-hmm. This is why, ladies and gentlemen. It's because she has older kids than me.
Yeah, because I know what my 9-year-old, good kid, very good kid. I know what the principal has called me about recently, and sex dungeon. He's already heard it. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
Based on what I've gotten in trouble with the principal for.
And my 9-year-old recently was making jokes about bonobos. We had a whole documentary that we watched about bonobos, and I had to have a huge conversation about that.
What's a bonobo?
Well, bonobos are a fascinating monkey that have massive butts that swell when they're ready to mate.
Beautiful.
And so
he thinks you're ready to mate at all times.
Oh my gosh! No, what?
Giant butt. That was a chubby joke.
Home run
you.
Joke. Love
okay.
it. But seriously, so that was a conversation I had to have because we have to start doing these documentaries for kids.
Oh,
the amount of mating scenes might be worse than Ghostbusters.
At some point you're gonna have to introduce your kids to mating scenes. My whole thing is that if you're not going to talk to them about it, it's not like the culture's not willing to.
I know, but my point
is, if you don't talk about it, they're going to Google it. When they Google it, what are they going to find?
They can't Google it. They don't have technology. My point is that it's crazy that Ghostbusters is making these jokes that I think are actually not as bad as the bonobos in the new documentary Queen thing. It's called Queens.
About bonobos?
Yeah, it's about female leaders in animals.
All right,
it's incredibly interesting.
Sisters.
We're doing an episode of ITFK on that.
All right, I hope.
Actually, we really should. No, we really should talk about whatever.
We'll talk about it later.
I'm digressing.
We're not got a content plan right now.
But I think we should.
Hey, where could people get more information about this whole? It's if they really liked this bizarro conversation we're having right now, where would they find more of it?
Well, they can go to isthisforkids.com and find out where we are everywhere. We have an Instagram that is very active, and we would love to hear from you on there. One of the reels from this episode is definitely going to be posted. Probably her making fun of me. Or me ranting about bonobos' butts.
Yeah. And I comment back a lot. So if you're ever is that really hurt? That's me.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, I'm very nice about it. But yeah, and they can also, check out our YouTube channel. And we have an audio only version of this podcast. If the video isn't for you, go over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review. Right?
Yeah, multiple 5-star reviews. Create multiple accounts. That would be great.
That's so creepy. Hey, there is so much content out there for us to consume as parents.
I'm Jonathan Beard of Blevins.
I'm Katie, Mrs. Ruby. Let us help you decide.
Is this for kids?